Tag TV, and Tag Radio. Technology now has a voice of innovation and information. Get it on www.tagtvonline.com. Building the bridge between previously isolated tools and standards for business, strategically incorporating both operational and infrastructural levels of technology management to ensure that an enterprise business strategy can be fully realized by the technology it deploys. Business technology management to align, synchronize, and even converge technology, the science that seeks to unify business and technological decision-making at every level. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, August 26th, 2008, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. Enterprise technology that ensures better execution, risk control, and, oh yes, profitability as the Tech Talk turns to business technology management as Tino speaks with Randall McCroskey, VP Enterprise Solution for Atlanta-based Pyramid Consulting. With nearly a quarter century of frontline technology industry experience, Randall has started and managed companies from earliest beginnings to run rates of $150 million and beyond. A leading industry executive, he assists top CXOs and executive teams to create and execute technology strategies, fusing business goals with empowering technological advantage. During Randall's term at Pyramid, the company has been ranked one of the top 20 fastest-growing private companies in Atlanta for 4 years running. A recent recipient of the Deloitte Georgia Technology Fast 50 Award and the 2008 winner of the Inc. 5000 Award. The company boasts geographical expansions in New Jersey, North Carolina, the UK, and 3 new offices in India. Smart enterprises today pursue alignment of technology with business, and today's Tech Talk is all about reaching the right level of synchronization. When technology shapes, not just enables strategic choices, and the extraordinary level of cross-understanding and vision of the future when business and technology leadership actually come together and converge. As Tino and Randall explore business technology with Pyramid Consulting top executive Randall McCroskey.
Randall, thank you for joining me on Tech Talk.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Congratulations, first of all. Pyramid has been on a fast growth track for a number of years. Any quick thoughts on what you attribute that to?
Well, you know, the demand is strong, which is certainly something that's positive for us. But, you know, having the right people and focusing on the client, I think, has really been key. You know, it comes down to execution. It comes down to having the right people to be able to deliver, and I think we do a pretty good job at that.
Well, you guys do a great job, and we're appreciative to have you so involved with the Technology Association of Georgia. Well, let's get started in respect to the words, you know, business technology management. Is that different than the past in terms of how you look at it, and why is that so important today?
Well, you know, it's all about changing the way we think about and the way we use technology. If you open up the kimono in most businesses today, the C-level folks, they all want something different. You know, the CFO wants higher margins. You have a CMO that may want to increase brand awareness, and you may have a COO that wants to more effectively manage his cost of operations. And then you have a CIO that's tasked with having the technology to make all this happen, in addition to staying on top of the technology innovations. And if that's not enough, you probably have a CEO that wants simple results all done yesterday without increasing the cost. You know, it's a given that the scenario that I just painted is being played out across all of corporate America, around the clock, and for that matter, probably around the globe. You know, we live in a 24/7 society that believes in a continuous partial attention to everything and everybody. It's no wonder, you know, that most of us probably didn't even have time to watch Michael Phelps become one of the greatest Olympians of all time.
Right.
You know, we're just too busy. You know, to be successful with business technology, we must slow down and we must come together as a business and leverage how technology can be used to gain a competitive advantage. You know, business technology is becoming even more important today in our softening market. You know, with budget cuts everywhere, it's more important than ever to focus on the technology initiatives. You know, they can put revenue on the top line and add dollars to the bottom line.
We have, of course, numerous CIOs that are involved with TAG, and it seems like there's a general theme out there that, it's not about the technology anymore. The technology's out there. Certainly it's advancing and changing, but there's some good technology out there. But would you say that it's how they put it into practice? That most of these guys seem so busy today that it's, they're trying to keep things on the even keel, addressing current demands, but maybe not having the time to look at the next steps in respect to how they can advance using the technology.
I think you're exactly right, Tino. And that's why we believe that companies need technology partners to help them get to the next level. The core business focus is where most organizations should be spending their time and energy. Competitive businesses need to implement a strategy that leverages innovation with internal resources, as well as looking outside of their own operations for key partners. We live in a global society. We should look to global sourcing partners to help us meet those demands. I often will refer to a 2007 Forrester report when I'm talking to my clients that identifies two distinct elements as key initiatives in today's IT leadership. And these elements link technology to business strategy and running IT operations as a business unit. The organizations that are succeeding at these tasks are those who keep in check innovation goals while simultaneously focusing on their core business. That's not easy to do. It's certainly difficult, and it's even harder when you start talking about doing it, good, fast, and cheap, which is what we're all striving for. And then when you start adding an external player to the mix, it really becomes difficult. But we believe that the really successful organizations will skill up to the challenge of leveraging global sourcing partners.
The CIOs that I get involved with say that they need to focus on their core competencies, which is what we're talking about. And, they're also keeping one eye on the competition, which conceivably, or I guess ideally for the competition, will be ratcheting up their game. So how does the CIO balance focusing on the core competencies, keeping things afloat, responding to the CFOs, the CEOs, and all the other stakeholders that come to the CIOs, and address innovation? Well,
at Pyramid Consulting, we believe our philosophy is enabling the new enterprise. Enabling the new enterprise includes looking at their global sourcing, as being a way to have more choices for resources and skills that are available, to enable them to compete in a global economy. And the more choices that you have, the better chances you have at success in the long run. And when you think about IT success in these terms, then the technology can more freely flow throughout the organization. Ironically, the bottom line is IT. And IT actually becomes the bottom line when it's leveraged as a major contributor to drive results throughout the entire company.
I'm sure many of our listeners are that maybe are a click away from working with some of the companies that we're in general talking about would be guessing that given the economy, for some of these companies anyways, that there's a tightening of the belt, maybe a reduction in technology expenditures. Are you seeing that? And just from opinion of your company and what you've seen, is that the way that these companies need to go right now?
Well, we are seeing some tightening of the belts for sure. But what we are seeing is people are continuing on with projects that are that they've, number one, already committed to, or the ones that they really feel that do help differentiate them, more in a strategic fashion, more from their competitors. So they are beginning to focus a lot on speed to market, which is certainly one of the important drivers for IT success today. The timeline to deliver new and innovative products that help grow corporate revenue, that help increase market agility and improve business focus is vital to these organizations. And it's especially true when you consider the increasing pressure to reduce costs, whether talking about managing security risk or checking off the governance requirements on an ongoing basis. The window to improve the business focus in an ever-shifting product life cycle is continuing to shrink. And these guys have got to get products to market faster, and they've got to focus on the things that are really strategic to them to be able to stay ahead of the game.
I imagine you see, obviously, as you guys work with a number of different companies, do you see some companies that the IT department is fully integrated into the organization, and then are there others that are kind of like a man without a country? They're trying to figure out how to connect in. Have I kind of exaggerated that point, or do you see that in terms of companies you work with?
Well, it's certainly across the board. I mean, there are ones that are integrated in, and those are the ones that we see that tend to be more successful in the way that they're doing business. When the CIO sits alongside and he's peers with the rest of the guys or the ladies that are in the management structure, there tends to be more of an emphasis put on using technology to leverage the business, to really keep them ahead of the game, as opposed to just looking at it as a back office function.
Yeah, the CIO's role, think about, Randall, you've been in this field for quite a while, and I imagine that Pyramid works with the CIOs and the CTOs and their designees for the most part. Has their jobs changed in general in the last 5 years, how they might think about their jobs and how the company might think about the role of CIO?
Well, we're certainly seeing ones that are more business leaders, that are not just pure techies that have come up through the ranks. We're seeing more and more CIOs are moving into that role from other parts of the organization, and they're beginning to be viewed differently. And I think it's having a huge impact on the way companies address and deal with technology.
So it sounds like what you're saying is, to some degree, they may be positioned as a more important cog in the wheel in respect to moving forward, how these companies are going to address things, because as you talked about, the speed to market and the ability to use technology to drive the business.
Absolutely. And it gets back to looking at things that are strategic to their business. And I'll often talk to companies because we do a lot of work with independent software vendors as well as commercial Fortune 500 companies. But I'll often talk to them in a manner that says, okay, let's take, for example, that you are a software company. But just because you're a software company doesn't mean that developing software is strategic to your business. The elements that are strategic to the business are really the elements that differentiate you competitively. And coding software doesn't differentiate a company. It's the secret sauce that differentiates the company. So when you start looking at it like that, and that means that your CIO needs to understand the business. He needs to understand where his peers are and some of the things that he can do to stay ahead of the game to help them keep differentiating their company as they go forward. Okay, and back to Pyramid for a moment here. You guys have been on a good growth track. You're now expanding, outside of Georgia in terms of where you put people on the ground. Talked about New Jersey and several other areas. Is that part of your growth strategy then? Yes, it is. We're certainly trying to put people on the ground to be part of the community. That's another element, I believe, of Pyramid's success here in Atlanta, is that we have a large presence here. We have people that are part of the community that are able to participate in the event. So we are largely not trying to serve those other locations out of Atlanta. We're trying to get people local to those markets. Well, Pyramid certainly proven that out here with your engagement, not just in TAG, but the community as a whole, and that does develop those relationships. And, of course, we both know that Atlanta and Georgia is a relationship-based community, if you will. So you're doing the right things. We've been talking with Randall McCroskey, who is a senior leader with Pyramid Consulting. Randall, thank you for joining me on Tech Talk today. Thank you, Tino.